right, so shall we begin?
Okay.
As you know, we've been going through these principles of sustainability and everything, like all these things that we need to know. So I've just made a brief list of things here that maybe doesn't incorporate everything, but just a brief list. So what is essential to know? And of course, the truth. We need to know the truth, because if we don't know the truth, we can't make any corrections, right? Then to understand what we are, where we come from, and where we're going. The meaning of life, purpose of life, all of those really important questions. Then know the planetary and universal natural wisdom. And that's things like connectivity, movement, vibrations, waves, cycles, change, cause and effect, combining of energy to create physical patterns and physical form, and all of the beyond that, which is life and everything else. It's essential to learn and know and understand the natural wisdom of Mother Nature and your immediate environment. That you only learn from, there's certain basic principles, like sun will rise and stuff that are cyclical patterns, but there are unique environmental situations that you have to learn in your immediate environment. My internet seems to be unstable for some reason. Right. Then we need to learn the fundamental principles of human and animal life, like moving and living and being and balancing and loving relationships with it all, living in harmony and alignment with life and our world, because these are essential for our continued existence. And if we just don't do those things, well, bye. Knowing the best ways to live life, be kind, be caring, be considerate, mutual respect, appreciation, living your best self. That's so critical, because if you improve others' lives around you, and if you live that kind of life, then your life just gets better and everyone else's lives get better. And why not live just being your best self, being your most healthy, most, happy, and really in the moment, to go out there and sing and whistle and just be like shining, just shine. Ethical principles, living within society, you've got to have certain rules that are just okay, there's certain things you do and certain things you don't do. So ethical principles are essential for coexistence. Then to know where we went wrong to ensure that we don't make the same mistakes again. And that's all of these sort of societal, historical, borders, bridges, extraction system, monetary systems, all of those things where we really messed up. And if you don't know them, then you're guaranteed to make the same mistakes again. And then having uncovered what we do and how to do it better, we begin to live that life, how to do it better. It's okay, if this is what we shouldn't do, then maybe this other thing or other way would be a better way. And so we learned all those things along this incredible journey that we've been on. And now we're trying to enact it, to live it, to be it. So all of the above and more ensure that we not only just survive, but we thrive. So those are the essential principles that we've done up until now. We've looked at, all of the different things that are reasons why we should exist. Now that we've made it obvious why it is essential to transition to a fair, happy, healthy, and sustainable future, the magnitude of what we are facing is apparent. Also, how fast it is happening is very, very real. It is this exponential curve, and we're right just at that point of it just starting to run away from us. And unless we jump in now and we really commit and do something really drastic now, it'll, in moments in the timeline along the bottom of the exponential curve, in moments it'll be too late and irreversible, and collapse will be inevitable. So the urgency is so relevant and pertinent. And I'll talk about that as the second thing I bring up in this meeting. Now, nature speaks, and we're constantly being reminded to course correct. If you awaken, become aware, more consciously connected to living life internally and externally in our external world, you'll comprehend the necessity to think, reason, adapt, and change your behavior. You're naturally guided to course correct back into alignment. Your guidance will always lead you back into loving relationships, caring, sharing, giving, and receiving. Proximity relationships are long distance relationships don't work. So it really is about really being in close relationship to communities, relationship to animals, to plant life, to actually getting your hands in the garden. Balance, maintaining the balances of life and harmony with the flows to ensure good health, which is really important. If you're not listening, you won't have good health, and then your happiness is affected and your sustainable survival will be affected. If you are living your life aware, seeing, and listening to your life guidance systems, then doing something, of course, to course correct, you will naturally create a better future for yourself. Suppose you're listening to your intuition, aware, consciously connected, and observant. In that case, you'll realize that you are being guided and shown how to correct if you're out of alignment with yourself and nature. Your natural responses are like gut feelings, intuition, actually having guides who intervene, and nature around you shows you what is working and what is not, so that you can self-correct with better choices and actions. If you aren't listening, sensing, seeing, thinking, analyzing, and doing something about it, you will suffer consequences. Now, of course, to what degree depends on the degree to which you're not listening. Some being life-threatening or existential consequences like extinction. Life-threatening is things like cancers and diabetes and all of those other sort of modern diseases that we have. If you're not listening and you're not correcting and you're not making sure that you're listening to your guides and intuition and sensing what's going on in your body, then you're going to pay for it. It's just, that's the way it is. Then there is your health will be a constant reminder if you are in balance and in harmony with your own life. Your senses, pain, thirst, hunger, breath, pulse, blood pressure, weight. The worse the imbalances become, the more your body will scream at you. Then there is, of course, the next one is up there. There is your non-physical or metaphysical guidance experienced in your meditative, perceived present moments. If you're fully into those moments, you will receive messages and intuition, and you'll be aware of what's happening in your internal body or in your environment through your dreams, your thoughts, and the voices in your head, which are very, very clear if you're aware, open-minded, and listening. There is also the voice of the natural world around you. And this one is unless you are like really connected, and you're not sitting in your room watching TV or whatever, you're not totally distracted and disconnected, and you are aware and you're sensing and you're listening to the worsening catastrophic weather events, atmospheric conditions, escalating temperatures, hurricanes, tornadoes, melting ice caps, glacial retreats, extreme flooding, pollution, desertification, loss of topsoil, loss of biodiversity, rates of extinction, and the quietening. the loss of the sounds of life. Our world is dying. Our life-sustaining ecosystems are collapsing. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanoes are getting worse at accelerating rates. Can't you see or hear Mother Nature is screaming out for help? Are you listening? Are you doing something about it? Maybe that's a bit cruel, because no one of us can do planetary repair in an instant, because that's not going to happen. So are you doing something to ensure our sustainable existence on planet Earth? Any small thing is better than nothing. Do what is closest to your heart, and even join a movement of people who care and are doing something, like our Help Save Our World movement. If you don't know what to do, sort of at the start of your journey, join, listen, learn, and then make it your own. Together, we have far more impact than trying to do this alone. Humanity is an incredibly powerful force. And if we just come together with this sole purpose to help save our world, and to bring back life, and to spread life across the planet, and to nurture our planet back into this incredibly beautiful ecosystem again, you will be absolutely amazed what we could achieve. So let's do it. Remember as well, this is a really important thing. Remember, the journey back to sustainability is a journey. And of course, it will be exponential as well. It'll start off really slow, but then if we keep on committed to it, it'll just exponentially increase. You must understand that, of course, it was a journey to get us into the mess we're in. So it will also be a journey back to sustainability. And every journey is made up of many tiny little or small little steps to get there. And these writings are your free guidance that you need to go on that journey. It is up to you to begin to take the steps to make it happen one by one. Before you know it, you will achieve changes and eventually very significant transformation. And we'll reach a stage where we have manifested that fair, happy, healthy, and sustainable, abundant future where we all thrive and live as one in love, balance, and harmony with Mother Earth. All right, that's that one. Anyone want to talk?
I agree. I think that's where we're moving towards, and that's a philosophy that we can align to. Yeah.
Alex?
I think it was wonderful. I think you really covered it well. I think, you saying to somebody, hey, go out there and go and fix the planet. It's like, whoa, okay. But explain to them that it takes one small step at a time. Every choice you make, be open to change, open to free thinking, open to believing that you are able to make a small change in the world. I think really does give the person the motivation to step up in that sense.
Yeah. And instead of it being like intimidating, like, no, I don't know what to do. Okay, well, yeah, I can understand that. Thanks for bringing that up to me, when I was talking about it. It's like, it's a critical factor.
Yeah.
Brendan, anything you want to say there?
I think you covered that section very well. Like Alex said, basically, if you give someone a big task, they're going to look at it and be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. That's too much work for me. But if you give everybody a little task to do every single day, eventually, after that period, like you were saying to me the other day, there's that period, and then it becomes a habit. So it becomes a habit, and then you give them the next task, and that becomes a habit on top of the habits, and that becomes a habit on top of the habits, and so on and so forth. And I think that's the way in which they will eventually get to know how to deal with the mass of tasks that they need to do to save the planet. However, to them, it feels like one little task because they've been adding on little bits at a time. Thank you.
Cool. Anything else or anyone else?
Well, I think Brendan's and yours also inclusion that it's a cooperative effort, right? It's we get to be aligned and moving as a unit together as best we can do that. And I would say that originally that's what civilization was meant to do for us. Maybe starting with your first partner and then the tribe or the family unit and then the tribe and however it grew. The idea of civilization to me was all of us working together to create an enjoyable and functional world. I think what happened was we got too involved in enjoying ourselves and kind of took our eye off the ball of what was happening to our resources, both what we were dumping into them and the amount that we were extracting and the waste that we create along the way. So any one of us, as far as I can tell, is not going to snap our fingers and create the civilization that we're talking about. However, there are thousands and thousands of small pockets like us that probably have similar meetings and similar discussions and put their money and their thought and their effort towards let's create a better world. Even if the evidence says this is not the time to do it, it is the time to do it. So let's continue to live and put energy towards our vision. Realizing that we are the ones that got us here, and we still have that small window to be the ones that get us out of this. And I was going to say let's hope, but no, let's work towards making that the reality, that it's not too late and we can turn it around and we will turn it around. Little by little, one by one, and as a consistent civilization. So if there ever was a call for globalization, it's for saving our world, not for the other nonsense that they're pushing it towards.
Yeah, there's so many like amazingly important factors that, I mean, the word hope is a great word. Without hope and without without hope that whatever we do will have a beneficial effect, then we're literally wasting our time. So I love that word. I mean, it's a beautiful, simple word, and it's powerful. Another interesting factor that is just, life gives life to life, and we've basically been, through our consumption and our plundering of the planet and so on, the extinction rate of species across the planet is off the charts. It's just like the rate of extinction is just incredibly high. And so there's very few real like pockets of wild animals and animals on the land, because we've like moved them into factory farms and all that sort of thing. So life on the land is where it happens. But now, as we've like literally converted wildlife, which roamed the land and was like driven on by predators and so on, and fertilizing all of the land across the continents. You can think of the wild buffalo in America, like way back then, and not just one species of animals, but like the plethora of species that were just like roaming the planet, and birds flying and bumblebees, and it was just happening. Life was just exploding across the planet, and that was like expanding life across the planet. And slowly but surely, in killing the species, driving back the habitat that they need and so on, and then forcing them into factory farms and so on, we have basically got all of the animals off the planet. And of course, our consumption, we've been converting other living species into human beings. All right. So now we have the added responsibility of taking up their actions that they were giving to this living planet and making it our own. And it just, to me, it's like, now we have to fulfill that function, or get those species to breed like crazy and get them out there and herd them across the land in some way, like Alan Savory suggests or something, or to actually put them out on the land and introduce predators like they did in Yellowstone Park and so on, Yellowstone National Park. They introduced the wolves to get the herds of herbivores to move. And of course, that rehabilitated the land in that area. So we've converted life into us. And now are we up to the task of rehabilitating the land, of getting out there and spreading life and nurturing and caring for the land and peeing and pooping on the land? Because, I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to spread biological feces and urine and everything to provide nutrients for the microbacteria in the soil, which feeds plants and So we have to get out of the cities to do that. It's just a random one of those millions of thoughts that I have. So one of the other points that I brought up in the very beginning was urgency for change. Great haste is necessary, realizing that time left to make this transition is short. Being efficient and effective is essential to reaching our goals and the ultimate vision where we want to go to as soon as possible. Of course, that vision is essential, because if you don't have a vision, you don't know where you're going, we're just going to all like and die. So projected timelines are essential to our success. And you could think of this as project management. This is our journey that we have to go on, and how are we going to manage and progress as productively as possible. We're constantly checking in on our progress. In project management, it's like, okay, you've got 2 days to get this done, and I'm like, you don't seem to be progressing along. Do you need some more people? But you've got to get it done by this deadline. And like, maybe we have to reach that stage of just totally planned and productive, and we're heading in that direction, and let's make it happen. Then constantly checking in with our progress and direction is necessary to ensure you're working towards those timelines for each particular project. And of course, there are many projects. It's reforestation, reclaiming desert regions, recreating habitat, reintroducing animals onto the land, and herding properly, because if mismanagement of wild stock on the land can have a negative impact on the land and desertify even more. So overgrazing can be a problem, but not having enough grazers on the land is also a major problem. So Alan Savory has got really good techniques of doing that, regrassing devastated regions, and then the process of building up towards forested areas, so succession planting and so on. And that's more permaculture with Alan Savory's concept. So those are symbiotic projects. So by constantly reevaluating, thinking, questioning, and making appropriate corrections, you maintain your focus on and practicing until you manifest it as your reality. You manifest the reality that you desire. Okay. Anyone want to say anything about that?
I like the idea of business managing helps save our world.
Project management.
Yeah. We have all the tools, don't we? Yeah.
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 It takes hands to get it done.
Yeah.
Carry on.
That for sure as well. Yeah. I was just on that, as you were positioning it as just something we have to do, and it's got to have that kind of management and accountability and all that. And it just strikes me that we can't get people to put their garbage in the recycling bin, or to turn off the lights when they're out of the room, or to walk to the corner supermarket instead of drive. And so as we're looking to roll these things out, that re-education and re-engagement, I guess, of people with the life they're living and the habits that they have is going to be a concern for us. And the many hands make light work, but still there are a lot of people that just don't want to work, period. And I'm not talking about work job, but just I'm in a comfort. That's again, they're going to have resistance to it. So moving forward to implement that kind of oversight and that kind of buy-in and engagement, I don't know whether it's just a critical mass of people we need, or if it is everybody. And maybe there's a chunk that will just never conform to this concept. And maybe that's okay, as long as they're not destroying what we're looking to create and redo. But I think that whole sociological aspect of buy-in and commitment and putting the effort in is continues to be a concern, which is why we're at where we're at now, 50 some odd years after Earth Day. We still don't get hordes of people showing up in every town to celebrate Earth Day. We have a couple of places, and most it just goes by as if, who knew that there was an Earth Day? So not to hijack the conversation, I just think it's something that as we start to plan, that's a key component, is getting people bought in, and only with their commitment and their effort.
Yeah, I mean, it really does come down to re-education, but not education in the classical sense of the word, but a re-natural education, or reintroduction to nature,
it's
just
conditioning.
Absolutely. And I mean, the religion.
We've conditioned people to be lazy, so let's condition people to be unlazy. One foot in front of the other, and you will get to the shop. We've conditioned people that, they can get their salary, they do a little bit of work, and they can sit at home and eat junk food all day, every day for the rest of the month until they get paid again. We've conditioned them to be lazy. We've conditioned people to not step up, because of the comforts, because of conditioning, the comforts that we've allowed them to assimilate into their lives, to allow them not to be willing to give them up. I mean, who wants to give up a nice comfy car with their air conditioning and their heater? And I mean, it's cold outside, it's raining, it's wet, get up and go do something in that, because that nature, that environment is beautiful and lovely and a part of you.
Mm-hmm. Even Barney, he is like, I don't want my feet wet, no. But if I click his leash and I'm like, I'm going for a walk, he's like, let's go. And he is soaking wet and full of mud and whatever, but he is as happy as you can possibly be, just because we did it. So, and it's like my mom, she was this amazing human being. She would, whenever it started to rain, she would run outside, come kids, singing in the rain. And she would be like swirling around and singing in the rain. It's like, oh my gosh, that's how you teach your children to love nature, and the appreciation of rain. It's like we're in the Drakensberg Mountains, and a lot of the time was pretty dry and barren, and then of course we would have the rainy seasons, which was the summer seasons and so on. And you've just come off this like really dry, barren time, and all of a sudden it rains. and the love and the appreciation, and they're like, whoa, it's wonderful to have rain again, So it's that re-education, that education that children need. It's our religions, our education systems, our businesses, our blah, 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 blah. They all have an interest in keeping us out of nature and keeping us distracted and chasing the next thing to consume, or the whatever, whether it be media or whatever it is. It's within their interest to keep us distracted and not out there living. So we have to take it upon ourselves. And although these teachings are like really important to get people to step into it and do that, eventually, like after a fair bit of the journey, you will not be asking us to tell you what to do. You'll be doing it yourself, because you'll have the basic background and nobody will have to tell you, because you will know and you will see it. It'll be obvious around you. So the journey, I think, of people learning and so on, initially, it might be intense, but then after a while, it just becomes, you know the truth, you know what's happening, you know everything's clear to you, and it's like, now all I have to do is apply this and live within it, and that's not hard. So I think the teaching the adults is going to be really one of those tricky ones, because adults don't like to feel like they're being told anything. Of course, our approach has to be far more considerate and passionate and like caring with adults, because it's really difficult for them to accept change. And then with children, if we have it as a global education system, we're totally replacing the other system. Bam, just like, yes, you need to read and write, and you need basic mathematics, and you need all of these basic things. Whether you take it further beyond that, that's up to you. But the fundamental education is community. It's nature. It's nurturing. It's caring. It's regrowing the living systems of our planet. Because if we don't, that's actually what makes it possible for us to survive. I mean, the ecosystems are what give us life. The life gives life to life. It's like, and at the rate at which we're driving those ecosystems back, we cannot sustain life. All right.
Well, I guess some of it depends on how much time we have to accomplish what we're up to. Training a generation of youngers in order to better contribute to society is one thing, and that'll take 10, 15, 20 years maybe before they can get to the age of actual commitment. Again, I don't want to take the topic too far off. I just think the sociology of it is a huge part of why we're here and what we need to deal with in order to move it on. And there's certainly a certain amount of urgency. People my age and your age, Dennis, we're like, this is not how I saw my end life. Was to be putting my nose to the grindstone to clean up the world. But I think it's a lot better than sitting watching television. And there are many, many, many people who just said, "No, I see my retirement years as something different than that." So there's lots of mind changes that have to happen in various places. Just wanted to leave that out.
Yeah. I mean, like this week, I don't know, one of my friends from Toastmasters contacted me and sent me a message on Messenger, and he said he was connected to this group that was about providing grants to people sort of around the world and so on. And then I eventually read through a lot of the actual stuff on it. And it's providing small grants, anything from like $5,000 to $15,000 for indigenous and local people to sort of buy the seeds and the equipment they need and start to literally create sustainable living systems on the land. So it really is in that situation about doing exactly what we're doing and getting rich people to be philanthropists and give their money for them to distribute out into small amounts to empower people to do this. So there are these efforts that are happening around the world, and a lot of it is our journey of learning, which is actually maybe what is inhibiting or slowing us down. Is like I also heard through one of our previous members that the US government is offering grants to actually acquire land in Africa. Now, I don't, the problem with all of these systems is there is usually something that's that binds you from doing what you need to do with the land that you've just acquired or whatever. You know, they always have these ways in which they ensure that their system is perpetuated. So I'm just guessing there, but it generally is the case. Like our project is not a $15,000 thing. It's like if we could take all of the money in the world and throw it at it right this moment, then we would achieve something significant in a very short period of time. But that's the sort of magnitude of what we should be looking at. So,
sure. You know, on that, maybe part of the sociological aspect as well. As we, certainly in the US, watch a small group of people get filthy rich to the point of hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're vying to be the first trillionaire, as if that's a goal, you know? And all of that money and the accumulation of that money, and I'll speak for myself, but probably others feel the same way. It's like, look, if these guys with all that money aren't putting any attention towards what we're talking about, why should I? You know, here are these guys that are just raking it in. They got nothing to do but to spend their money, and they're either hoarding it in order to reach this ridiculous goal of ego satisfaction. But they're not. I mean, there's one or two of them, I think, that are giving it away to charities and philanthropies. But when you think, especially the top three now that have their ventures have allowed them to jump up in space, right? So however many billions of dollars it took of their company, then to support shooting them up into space. It's like, you know, you guys are the guys causing this problem. You know, you guys are the one running these companies that are using outrageous amounts of resources. And even though you speak like you're changing the world, you're actually putting a bigger tax on it right now, and you're showing us that what you're doing is okay. And I think that sociological aspect, as much as anything else, is harmful to the trend of saving our world. Unless you know, there's a difference. Help save our planet and help save our world, and I want to make that distinction, because though we often use planet and world as the same word, the world we live in includes civilization and society and technology and all that other stuff, right? So I have a feeling some people might be thinking the world they save is our status quo. Like, how can we make things work so that we can continue at the level we're at, rather than focusing on it's a planetary issue in our environment. So if there's a distinction there for you, I don't know, but for me there is.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways of thinking about it, but really, help save our world is to me life, nature, the actual environment. It's the air, the water, the land. To me, there is no other world. The whole idea of abstract societies, imbalances, all of those things that are technology and industrialization and and centralization of wealth and power and mega dams, and all of those are imbalances to our world. Those are the things, Western sort of monoculture, agriculture, all of those sort of business and technological advances to make the rich richer are all unnatural and not supposed to be part of our world. Our world is not a planet. It's not a dead thing. It's this living organism that, and like our awareness of hurricanes and tornadoes and all of this that's happening is like our world, not the planet. It's the atmosphere, the environment, it's everything is now suffering extreme imbalance. And we are literally heading off to extinction at a phenomenally accelerating rate. It's like our world, a mother nature, the mother earth, it is not just the earth, it's mother nature. It's like that whole environment, that envelope, the womb in which we exist is our world. And it, like technology taken to the extreme is, and all this going to space and everything, the cost to the living world is astronomically out of balance. So these extreme people are literally killing our world at an accelerating rate just because of themselves, their organizations, the plundering for resources, the big motor car companies that they're creating for electric cars and batteries and blah, 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 blah. It's just like this whole destruction of our living ecosystem world, mother nature. It's like that whole, I don't think that we could say planet and world as being the one is civilization and the other one's not. I don't think so. The one is technology and the other one is life. We live on the third rock from the sun, that thing. It's that object that's flying through space around the sun. You know, it's like, how do you clarify that distinction? To me, I'm not sure. I think.
Well, I made an effort to, and I just wanted to let you know that that distinction does exist out there. And when we speak, I guess we just need to be clear. I get where you're coming from, but I think the sociological aspect of that distinction between the world I live in and the planet I live on. I would say, how about if we just took out humans and all human creations and say that's the world, or that's the planet for that matter. It's everything that's not human and human derived. Now, humans are part of it, but for the concept of what is our world and what is our planet, I think our planet absolutely involves the flora and the fauna, and there's no way around it. That's part of what we live in and with. I think, look, there's the world of Disney, right? And Wally World. So that's my concept of world, is that they seem to have an additional add-on, and you kind of dealt with it with the abstract concepts of money and corporations and civilization and society. So I as much as we are part of the world and we are the world, I think we need to look at what is manufactured fantastical and what comes from nature as a whole. So if that makes a difference to you between planet and world, that's kind of where I was going for it.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting idea, but quite often these like distinctions that maybe society is promoting it are not necessarily like, I don't know, like only humans are conscious beings. It's like, really? Have you looked at the puppy dog when he talks to me about going out to go for a walk? It's like, no, don't come with that nonsense. Have you seen an ant, how it thinks and it makes decisions? It's like, it's making very, very fast calculating decisions on this is safe, this is not, whatever. It's like, it's conscious, you know. And there's so many of these things that, like the distinction that like humans are a virus on the planet and that they should all be extinguished and so on is insanity, because, you know, we represent life that is the continuation of all of the species that we've consumed or eaten or become part of us. And now we are the representatives of all of those lives and all of our ancestors' lives and all of the leaves and the carrots and the whatever we ate right through history. We represent that motion of life right now. I mean, can you? We're not just individuals. We're not individuals. We are this collective movement of life. Like, it's this flow of not just humanity, of life. And you can't take humanity out of life because we are life. And we are part of the tree and the branches and the worms. It's all without that flow of life, which we now are the living representatives of. And our choices collectively is what takes us to the future. And who are we to turn around and say, screw all of you that tried so hard, that gave your lives, that did everything to get me, Dennis Moore, because I'm special. I'm like, you know, and I'm different from everyone else. You know, I'm a human. I'm like a virus, so I can just do these. It's like, no, we have such an enormous responsibility to all life past, to our planet past, to Mother Nature, to all of that. We are part of this magnificent macro thing of life that's rolling out on our planet. And don't we have a responsibility to ensure that it goes on? It's like, oh my gosh.
Good question.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so that was very intense, and we've hit the hour.
Well, it's where we get to be as a movement. I would say maybe distinct from as a civilization, because again, I think the civilization is just so factioned and fractured that we can't count on it to be a consistent flow. I just compare China to Russia, to America, to Europe, to South America, to Africa. You know, there's just so many ways about going about living and structuring a government, and you know, the belief systems that you have, and your religions, your availability for food, abundance, blah 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 blah. There's just so many differences that even what we call civilization is not a consistent thing. It's a conglomeration, right? And I think one of the few things we can count on is that civilization has been destructive throughout its history, whether it's pop up here and there and around the world. Usually there's civilization, meaning the way humans have run their thing on Earth. So to turn that tide, again, we have to do it with those that we can, and I guess hope, trust, have faith, and full intention that we're going to be able to shift the tide with our efforts. And if not, then we made a valiant effort to live a life that was worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, what a more noble thing. I mean, I hate that word noble, because it's sort of this implication that kings and queens are noble, but they're not. No. Sorry. Yeah, Alex.
I am ready to go singing.
Oh my gosh, you're so cruel. So,
Right.
so
Throw
one
them back
thing
into
before-
the system we're trying to disrupt. Yeah.
so just one thing there, like you brought it up like about 3 times throughout. It's that principle of it's like you used to say, like that market garden or whatever, the concept of it only takes a few people to whatever, I don't know what that saying was. Okay, so that's the first concept.
Oh,
The next
Margaret
concept
Mead's statement.
Margaret
Yeah.
Mead, yeah. And
Never doubt that a
and then
small group
the
of
next,
committed citizens can change the world. In fact, that's the only thing that ever has. Yeah.
there you go. So that's the hope and the belief and the commitment. Okay? And if we just keep on plugging away, it'll happen. Okay, so that's the one thing. And then the next thing is you brought it up like 3 times, and it really is that concept of everyone's like out on this field outside, and there's music playing, and one guy jumps up and he dances, and everyone is like, oh, look at that silly fool. And then the second person stands up and joins him and dances too. And it's like, maybe he's not a silly fool because that other guy did it. And before you know it, there's this like exponential surge of people jumping up, and they're all dancing on the field. But there's always that group of like, I am petrified, I'm scared, those people are just horrible and stupid, and I want nothing to do with them. And there is always that group, and that's that bell curve. It's like the people who are early innovators who are like up there and doing this silly thing, and then slowly but surely, and you hit it like, I don't know, 14 or 18% on that bell curve, which isn't very many people. And all of a sudden you have a landslide of people that follow. But the people who are still on their Nomura possibly plugging the cord into the switchboard, and can you tell me your number? Or the old diaphragm, those people will still stay with that level of life, because change for them is horrifying and terrifying. But hopefully, as you said, they won't be the people, they won't be destroying faster than we can build, hopefully. So, yeah. So I like that. You brought it up quite a few times, but that concept of like, oh, it's so hard, we're really battling, and things aren't working out as we would like it to, and so hard. Forget about so hard. Let's just keep on doing it and trying our best, and all of a sudden the switch will be flipped, and bam, we'll have this massive movement.
Yeah.
And it might not be us. It could be another group somewhere else who's like trying, and bam, like the tree movement or the earth movement, like saving the topsoil. There's a band singing about saving the topsoil, like this is their thing. And, all it takes is for it to catch on, and bam, we're living in another world. So, yeah. I still think that what we're doing is providing the truth and the basic philosophy that is essential to perpetuate life. And just by doing that, that's an essential part of, it's one of the keys to our sustainability, Karen.
Yeah. Well, it's a noble cause.
There you go. Anyway, thank you, everyone.
All right,
it's
guys.
been wonderful.
And
thanks, guys.
We've overshot the time a little bit, but we did have a few breaks.
We'll get our tech issues down.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, maybe we'll talk during the week, Dennis, but certainly I'll make the plan for next Sunday as well. This is pushing it a little bit later for you guys, though, to do the 9:30.
It's not the end of the world.
No, that's just fun.
We're joking. We're joking. We don't mind if it's this time.
No, I'm just wondering, because I know it's 6 hours difference for you. Okay, I think we should be good. If we can do this time again next week, then that it just makes my morning and what I do on Sunday morning so less compressed.
Oh, good. No problem. That's the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All good for us.
All right.
Go out and
Thanks,
sing your
Chris.
asses off.
Hello, everyone.
Well, dude. Cheers, man. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Have a good one.